My name is Kelli Cox. I have been abducted, raped, murdered, dumped, and buried.
How scared she had to have been.
He has no remorse for killing the girls.
What could be a nightmare comes true for some Tiki Island parent.
I know something's happened because this is just not her. This is out of the ordinary.
Searchers could barely put one foot in front of the other.
And Laura asked to go for a run, and then she didn't come back. We knew something was wrong.
But our top story tonight, a man and his dog discover the badly decomposed body.
It was on TV that Tiffany was missing. Her car was abandoned after he killed her and raped her. He just dumped her like a bag of trash.
He's a monster. He's a predator.
Not just any monster for me. That's the monster who took away my mom.
William Lewis Reese. You have the right to remain silent, not make any statement at all.
He eluded the police, at least for 19 years.
William Reese had criminal history, which included aggravated kidnapping.
We brought Reese out there, had him demonstrate to us how he buried the bodies in.
I'm telling you the truth.
Tell me the truth, Bill.
He gives a version of the truth to make himself look better.
He was only giving us shades of the truth.
I started choking her. She was still fighting me, and I grabbed that rope and wrapped it around her.
William Reese was more like a wild animal.
State of Oklahoma versus William Reese.
He knew that justice was coming. The time was up.
There's an old saying in the law, justice delayed is justice denied. I sentence you to death.
I don't expect him to say sorry.
I'm not taking my death penalty off. I still stand by that.
Stay tuned to see what Reese's next move is.
I think he got another ace or two up the sleeves.
4 young women each disappear with no explanation. One had gone out for a jog, another had been at a theater cast party, a third on a college field trip, and another vanished from a car wash. For almost 2 decades, their families searched for answers about what really happened to them until a stunning confession from a Texas prison.
Laura she was beautiful. You know, there's some people who are touched by light, and Laura was certainly one of those people. Everyone who knew Laura loved Laura. She was incredibly smart. She could have done anything. She had so much to contribute. It would have been an amazing thing to see what she would have done in life if she had been allowed to live.
But our top story tonight, she's only 12 years old, and at this hour, she's missing. Did she just wander off, or is there foul play involved?
On the morning of April 3rd, 1997, Gay and Bob Smithers' lives changed forever.
We were homeschooling at the time, and so I started making breakfast, and Laura asked to go for a run. That was highly unusual, because Laura did not like running, but she had been inspired to do cardio for her ballet. Ballet was her great love, and so she asked to go running, and it never occurred to me that it would be dangerous.
Their 12-year-old daughter, Laura, was the light of their lives. She was a gifted student and an aspiring ballerina who had just been accepted into the Houston Ballet Academy.
And I also thought, oh, well, she won't be out there very long. And then she didn't come back. We knew something was wrong right away.
She used to ride her bike when I would run, so I would know more or less where she would have gone. So I checked that very quickly, and she wasn't there. So came back and called the police.
Within 10 minutes, the policeman was here at the house taking our missing person report. And by that evening, I mean, I'd made a number of phone calls to get more people to come help, and we had spent the day searching all over the area.
Did you see anything unusual at this time yesterday?
Yesterday, no, not at all.
And by that night, the media had got wind of it.
Her parents say she went out for an early morning jog in the neighborhood of 9 o'clock this morning along this very road and simply never came back.
And so all the trucks had already shown up, and helicopters were circling the house, and the next morning there were hundreds and hundreds of people. And Very quickly, leaders within our community stepped up and organized the search.
Searchers could barely put one foot in front of the other.
I've been overwhelmed by the community support and the police.
What was it like for you and your family last night?
Don't ask me.
She is a very good girl. Something very unusual has happened that she would have been home. There's no question she would have been home.
So many of our dear friends now we met out of that search.
I have 4 children of my own and I can't imagine being in this position.
They were extraordinary.
I've got 3 nieces. I'd hate for it to happen to one of them.
Every day, people who just step forward, mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
People from the community who didn't know Laura. I mean, many of them did.
I just want to let her know that we are going to find you. And we're not going to stop until we do find you.
But many more of them didn't.
We offer it to you and pray that you would watch over Laura wherever she is.
I was a family friend, still a family friend of Bob and Gabe Smithers. I got a call from one of the Cub Scout leaders asking me to run a search the next morning, April 8th. I showed up the next morning out on Moore Road. It was a whirlwind, and everybody got caught up in it. The city and people from all over Houston put their lives on hold and came and tried to find Laura. And then I ended up running the search some way. How? It just happened. I don't know.
The desperate search for a 12-year-old girl in Friendswood is on this afternoon. Now police are calling it an abduction. The FBI has joined the case.
Alan, FBI is here, Coast Guard is here, the National Guard is here, but what has been most impressive is just the volunteer effort that we have seen from this community.
6,000 people, it was estimated, searched for Laura. It still makes me cry. That's a tiny example of the tremendous compassion that the community had.
But 1 week passed, and then 2, with no sign of Laura. On Sunday, April 20th, the community crowded into the auditorium at Friendswood High School for an update on the search.
Obviously, we're encouraged when there are new leads, but we wait for the final phone call that says that they found Laura.
During that town hall meeting, the chief received a page. I think everybody in that room knew something had happened.
I was sitting next to the police chief at that time named Jared Stout, and he got his phone buzzed, and he looked over at me and frowned and said, "Mike, I gotta go."
We all knew. We just knew. We didn't know what, but we knew something had happened.
But our top story tonight, a man and his dog discover the badly decomposed body of what authorities say is a young girl. The discovery made in a sector that had been part of the search for Laura Kate Smith.
And it was probably around 10 o'clock that night that the chief came that night to say that a body had been found.
After 17 days, Laura's body turned up at the edge of a retention pond in Pasadena, Texas, about 12 miles from where she'd gone missing. The only clothing she had on was a pair of socks. The Harris County Medical Examiner's Office determined she had been beaten, and there were signs of strangulation.
And of course, we immediately refused to believe it. And then it took until noon the next day. They came back to say that the identification was made, and he said, "It is our girl."
The young woman found off Beltway 8 is Laura Kate Smither. The Smither family is in seclusion. Once again, they ask for your understanding, and privacy is what they wish most at this time.
Friendswood was heartbroken, shocked, and left in fear of a predator on the loose. Police began to question anyone who had been in the same area as the Smither home on the morning of April 3rd.
It came up that there was this man in the area who was a sex offender, and they brought him in for questioning.
His name was William Lewis Reese, a 38-year-old construction worker who had served time in prison in Oklahoma for rape. He had just been released the previous year.
William Reese was actually an equipment operator, and he was working in the Windsor Estates subdivision located off of West Parkwood Avenue here in the city. Rained that day, so there wasn't work. I think he showed up for work, but he was released early.
He had left the construction site approximately at the same time Laura Smithers ended up disappearing, and then he comes back by about 30 minutes later.
And who can place him there?
We have eyewitnesses that can place him at that location.
William Reese was always the #1 suspect. We just had to be able to make a case on him. But part of the process was going back and eliminating, make sure all those other suspects were eliminated, which was a long, drawn drawn-out process.
He was on their radar very early on, but they didn't have anything to link him to Laura.
On the campus of the University of North Texas, it's hard not to notice this stunning bronze memorial depicting a mother and child.
There's just this wonderful presence when I'm out here talking to her, you know. Sometimes I'll just sit. If people come by while I'm out here, I usually talk to them about it so that it will resonate even more with them.
Jan Bynum comes out here often to talk to her daughter, Kelli. She was a 20-year-old student at UNT and a young mom. On July 15, 1997, she took a field trip to the Denton Jail with her criminology class. Then she vanished.
The instructor had told them they shouldn't bring anything in. Have somebody drop them off, take a cab, use a hide-a-key, do something. She used a hide-a-key. After the tour, and she called her boyfriend, her words were, "The key won't work." And we tried the key, or she and her boyfriend had tested the key the night before and everything was fine. To this day, we don't know. We didn't find the key, we didn't find the hide-a-key box, none of that. Her request to him was to help her get into her car, and when he got there, her car was there, but we've never seen her since.
And you knew that she would not just leave because she had a little girl at home.
I knew she wouldn't.
How old was Alexis?
Alexis was 19 months old.
Kelli was 20.
They used to have to beg to babysit me. She would take me everywhere. They could not get me out of her arms.
She had Alexis very young, but she was very focused, knew she wanted to get her degree. That's why she was in summer school. She had a time frame set. She wanted to graduate in May of '98 and then start working on her master's because she was majoring in psychology with a minor in criminal justice.
She would have graduated with honors. There was no doubt. And Niles, my dad, well, Jan's husband, and Kelly's stepfather, who raised her since she was 12, and he struggled probably the most out of all of us.
How did the lion go?
24 years after Kelli's disappearance, her daughter Alexis is now a student at the University of North Texas herself. She was raised by Kelli's parents.
All I told her growing up and over the years is, your mommy is lost, and we've got a lot of people looking for her. We don't know where she is, but there's lots of people looking for her.
Why'd you take that off? After getting a picture for everybody to see.
My earliest memory is looking underneath the bed for her, looking around the room. So that's what I can remember of my mom.
Alexis has been a godsend. So, because right from the get-go, she was my focus. You know, I do have a job, and Kelli, I promise you I'll take good care of her the best I can.
I thank God every day that I was lucky enough to have grandparents who were right there and said yes, yes. People always wonder, how was your childhood? It was normal. It was completely normal.
She was my best friend. We could talk. We could open up with each other. We could talk grown-up talk. I know a lot of times I find myself going, Kelli, you would be so proud of Alexis. But also then, I always tell her, don't worry, honey, we're gonna get justice. We will see it through.
I know early on they thought William Reese was potentially a suspect, right?
They did. They did because he was on the sex offenders list, and that's when they were able to locate a receipt at one of the gas stations that showed he was in Denton on that day. So that got them real interested. They got Kelli's fingerprints though, and they did check his truck or car or whatever it was very carefully and didn't find any fingerprints, any of Kelli's fingerprints or anything like that anywhere on the car.
We never stopped putting Kelli's face on the TV. We never stopped all these years. We have never stopped.
Do you come out here a lot?
Yeah. I mean, I know she's not here,
but she knows that we're here. We're thinking of her. She was 19. She was very energetic and very determined. She never seen a stranger. I mean, she'd talk to anybody going down the street because she's brought up in a small town, you know, and everybody knew everyone. So Tiff and I was really close because everywhere I went, she was with me. Everyone said it was my shadow, was because she was there with me everywhere.
Tiffany Johnston was a newlywed who had just moved to the Oklahoma City suburb of Bethany when she disappeared in 1997.
She was going to go to college in the fall, and she was going to study plants because she loved working with plants. One of her summertime jobs one year was working for a landscaper. She went with her grandfather to the farm to help him with his garden. All the kids, that was part of their routine. You have to help Grandma and Grandpa because they lived here, we lived here, so you have to go out and help them. Tiffany and Ryan had moved to Bethany because of the crime rate wasn't so big. She went to work at El Chico's, which is a restaurant, and she worked there till 2 o'clock. She got off work there, and then she went to Sight and Sound, which is like a Best Buy or something like that. And when she got off work there, she went to the house and got cleaned up, and then she was gonna meet Ryan, and they were gonna go celebrate their 3-month anniversary. And so she went to wash her car.
But the car wash was the last time anyone saw Tiffany alive. Later that night, her husband Ryan went out to search for her after she didn't come home.
And around midnight, the Bethany PD called me and wanted to know if Tiffany was with me because her car was abandoned at the car wash. And that didn't sound like Tiffany at all. I mean, she didn't do that. Her pager, back then, the pagers was the thing, and her pager was left in her car because I blew it up, paging her, saying 911. That meant call immediately. And then I got a hold of Ryan. I did him the same way with his pager. The Bethany Police Department called back and said that they had gotten a hold of Ryan and it was Tiffany's car, which that wasn't no-brainer because her ID was in the car, her paycheck was in the car, her money was in the car. The doors on her car was open. She had her mats on the hanger so she could wash them. Everything was there. We really didn't know what to figure because it was just a shock to us. There was people that seen her at the car wash, but they didn't see anything happen, which is really strange because that is really a busy car wash, or it was back then. We got up, went to Bethany, which is about an hour and a half's drive from Anadarko, and the police have it all taped off, and all they would say is, we think she's been abducted. I go, oh, no, not my kid, you know. That's parents' worst dream is their child missing. Then about, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the Bethany PD called and wanted to know if Tiffany had any tattoos or birthmarks or jewelry because they were looking for 3 other girls at the same time as Tiffany. And I go, yeah, she's got a belly button pierce and she has a birthmark. And they said, okay, well, it's not her. And I'm going, yeah, it is. Or you wouldn't be calling asking me this stuff. I know better than this. And then that evening, they come to knock on the door and to tell us that it was Tiffany that they found.
Tiffany's body turned up during a search for another missing woman. She'd been dumped in a ditch off of Interstate 40 near Yukon, Oklahoma, about 10 miles away. An autopsy showed she had been strangled.
We know that she was sexually assaulted. We know that she was received some trauma about her head and shoulder areas.
Had to go tell Grandma and Grandpa. Grandpa took it very hard, which we knew he would. And he goes, why didn't God take me? Why did God not take me and not leave Tiffany? That was his main thing, was wine. She had lots of big dreams. She would have succeeded in them if she'd been given more time. She didn't have no children or anything. She's been dead longer than she was alive, and that's really sad. Someone took her life before it was her time.
Laura Smither disappeared Thursday morning. An emotional day for a group of volunteers.
What could be a nightmare comes true for some Tiki Island parents.
Their 17-year-old daughter has been missing for more than 24 hours, and police say this is no runaway.
I know something's happened because this is just not her. This is out of the ordinary. Even the neighbors know that this is not like Jessica.
In the early morning hours of August 17, 1997, Jessica Cain's mother woke up in a panic when she realized her daughter had never come home from a theater cast party the night before.
When I woke up and I realized she wasn't here, and I woke her father, immediately put in 2 calls to some of the friends that was in the play with her last night at Harbor House, and found out that she had left at 1:30, that they saw her leave at 1:30 headed home. And that's when I immediately began to panic, because I knew that something had happened. Too much time had lapsed from the time she'd left, they had last seen her, and the time that I realized she wasn't home.
17-year-old Jessica had been out celebrating at a Bennigan's restaurant after performing in a production of Oklahoma at Harbor Playhouse Community Theater.
She loves the theater. The theater is such a stress release, and Jessica was so outgoing and so uplifting and energetic and bubbly that she just had so much energy for everybody, and always happy.
There was another cast party member who had a sister that lived down the street. She asked Jessica to go with her down there to her sister's apartment, and she did, rode with her in her vehicle. Then they came back from there, and she was dropped off behind her pickup, and they watched her get in the pickup, then watched her get on the feeder, well, on the access, where you access off Bay Area to get on 45 feeder road, and that's the last time I ever saw her.
Jessica's castmates spotted her leaving the Bennigan's parking lot around 1:30 in the morning. Hours later, her father found her truck abandoned along the side of Interstate 45 in the city of Lamarck, with her wallet still inside. She was nowhere in sight.
I don't think the truck was the problem, and if the truck had been a problem, I really think Jessica would have sat in the truck and waited for us to come. I've thought about that already, and I don't think Jessica would have gotten out of the truck to walk.
Her vehicle was pulled over, and it was, a stretch of 45 that is dark, and she's a 17-year-old young lady, and it just didn't feel good at all. Because she was not that far from home, from the exit to Tiki. Back then they didn't have cell phones or anything, but it was scary. It was a terrible feeling.
She vanished only 1 week before she was set to begin her freshman year at Sam Houston State University.
We were supposed to take her to Sam Houston and move in Sunday morning, and I thought that would be the hardest thing to let go. She's an only child, and I thought that would be really hard to let her go off to college, and now I realize that will be really easy to let her go off to college.
Jessica had a journal, and I interviewed all her friends. I interviewed her teachers. I interviewed the directors at the play. I'd interviewed so many people, so I got to know about her. She was really a delightful person. She was funny, very spontaneous, very creative with words.
Lamarck Investigations asked if I would go into, or we would, several of us would go and see if we could find anything that might have Jessica's DNA, hairbrush, toothbrush, something of that nature, so that in the event that she was found, that we would have that. And I remember going in there, and it was surreal. I could remember it like it was yesterday, that her things were packed in her room because she was leaving for college that next weekend, Sam Houston.
Volunteers spent weeks searching. Even Laura Smither's parents joined in on the search.
And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
This has to be the hardest thing that they have done since they have lost their child, because they have personally are having to relive every moment with everything that they went through with Laura.
It's a nightmare relived. It's very painful. I've told her to keep her faith. That she must never talk about her daughter in the past tense. She must never give up her hope.
I went ahead and did the paperwork and all that.
Michael Barker, who was volunteer director at the Laura Recovery Center, heard about the search for Jessica and agreed to help. He got to know her parents and later became licensed as a private investigator.
I get a call from Gay Smither, and she said they just gotten a call from a family in Texas City whose daughter went missing. They were going to go down there and they wanted me to go, and I really didn't want to go because I was being just sucked in deeper and deeper to this whirlwind. And I said, well, guys, I said, this is a complete different deal. This girl's 17, she's not 12. It's a freeway deal. This girl could be anywhere by now, you know. And she said, well, we're going to go and we want you to go with us. I had trouble always saying no to these families. How do you do it after what they've been through? I said, as terrible as it is, we know where Laura is. CH and Susie, they're in a complete different place. They don't have a clue.
But despite a massive community search effort, no sign of Jessica ever turned up.
They'll describe these cases as roller coasters, ups and downs and up and down. There was never an up. It's always was down until they found her.
We're having to learn patience. That is a very, very hard lesson to learn, to be patient and wait, be still and wait on God.
It's very common for victims of trauma not to remember because the mind protects itself. So when you can put your conscious mind at rest, then you can retrieve the information from the subconscious.
Former Tiki Island Police Chief Sue Dietrich Nance will never forget the summer of 1997. Just after Jessica Cain went missing, she was asked to help in the case of Sandra Sepa, a 19-year-old who was abducted outside of a Waffle House in Webster, Texas. She managed to escape her attacker.
I was a forensic hypnotist, and Webster PD called and asked if I would come and hypnotize her because she was so traumatized. She had escaped the kidnapper, jumped out of his vehicle on 45, and sustained quite a few injuries. She was so traumatized there was very little she could recall.
Under hypnosis, she says Sepa was able to recall key details about her attacker.
She said that she pulled up in front of the convenience store on Nassau Road 1 early morning hours. She went in, she bought some items. She left the parking lot, she drove across the street to the Waffle House, and he drove up next to her and asked her if she needed some help. And she said that she asked him why, and he said, because you have a flat tire. So it was shortly after that that, she was forced into his truck at knife point. This is what she's telling me under hypnosis. And so he started driving northbound on 45, and at one point he told her to take her clothes off. And she said she bent down to untie her shoes, and she realized that the door was unlocked to the truck. And so that's when she started trying to get out of the truck. And he grabbed her, and for several miles she was drugged on the pavement, and then finally was able to get away from him.
On the freeway? On
the freeway, 45.
I think she knew the peril that she was in, and she made a life or death decision by choosing to go and exit the vehicle on Interstate 45.
It wasn't until weeks after the hypnosis that Sue Dietrich Nance made a chilling connection about the person Sandra Sepa had been describing.
I stopped by Friendswood Police Department and spoke with the chief there, and I asked him about the prime suspect in Laura Smithers' case, and he told me about who they suspected. They just didn't have enough evidence. And I left his office and went home, and about 3 o'clock in the morning I woke up and I thought, oh my God, That's who Sandra Sapal described, was William Reese. And I called the station, had him call me, and I said, she described William Reese. She described his truck. She described the way he looked. I also hypnotized a store clerk there who told me under hypnosis about, she saw him in front of the store with his truck parked next to Sandra Sapal's car. They went and picked William Reese up, brought his truck to the station, and they put him in a live lineup and she picked him out.
Inside William Reese's truck, investigators found strong evidence.
During her hypnosis, I asked her to describe the inside of the vehicle and of the truck, the dash, if there was anything unusual. And she said that on the glove box there was a piece of paper that had numbers written on it. And I asked her if she could tell me what those numbers were. And she said, well, there's only about 4 or 5 that I can read, and I can't read anymore. So she gave me those numbers, and that's all she could give me. So when Webster went to get him, on his truck, on the dash, on the glove box of his truck, and there was Post-it notes. One was overlapping the other, and you could only see about 4 or 5 numbers of a phone number. That's why she couldn't see the rest under hypnosis.
Reese's criminal record included 2 rapes in Oklahoma, both in 1986.
He was supposed to be in jail on a 25-year sentence and only did 9.5 years of that 25-year sentence.
After his release in 1996, Reese found work shoeing horses and working construction.
He hauled heavy equipment. He hauled lowboy trailer, put a lowboy trailer attached to his dually truck, and he would haul front end loaders, caterpillars, those kind of things. And he was, he would be all over the state. He would go back and forth to Oklahoma from Texas, but his work took him to many different cities in Texas.
Reese was charged with aggravated kidnapping in Sandra Sapal's case. He also became a suspect in the kidnapping and rape of a 22-year-old woman who says Reese saw her at a gas station in North Houston late one night and followed her.
She feels like there's something wrong with her car, like she might have a flat. And so then she sees what she later describes as a truck pulling behind her. And she sees this man walking up. She gets out. She starts to step out of her vehicle, and she sees this man walking towards her, who she would later describe as William Reese. She was dragged into the woods and beaten and strangled and sexually assaulted, and she says that she thinks he thought she was dead.
Although she did escape and later picked Reese out in a police lineup, he was never charged in her attack. But he did go on trial in 1998 in the Sandra Sapal case.
Think you're being unfairly treated, Mr. Reese?
Yeah, I do.
How so?
About the press. You're going all out of proportion. I didn't do nothing. And I didn't know what Friendswood knows.
Sandra Sapal took the stand to describe the terrifying assault. Sue Dietrich Nance also testified.
There were several things that Chief Stout shared with me. The description, also that William Reese had criminal history, which included aggravated kidnapping, forcible sodomy, oral sodomy, and sexual assault.
Breaking news tops live at 5 this afternoon. It's happening right now down at the criminal courthouse.
Convicted kidnapper William Reese has been sentenced to 60 years in prison. A jury made that decision just a few moments ago.
And we can tell you that when that sentence came down, William Reese did not bat an eye in district court. He just stood there. His lawyer said immediately when the judge asked, will there be an appeal? Yes, they will.
Did you expect
more leniency? Well, no, I really didn't expect to be convicted, really.
Are you saying then that the women who say that you attacked them are lying?
Yeah, I would say that.
What about your victims in Oklahoma? I mean, you saw these people in Oklahoma, you were convicted. Anything to say to any of these people at all?
But while Reese went to prison for kidnapping, the families of Laura Smither, Kelli Cox, Tiffany Johnston, and Jessica Cain still had no answers.
I was the one that pushed, because if I hadn't, we wouldn't have been where we are today. Because Tiffany, no one would have pushed any harder than Mom.
For years after Tiffany's murder, Kathy Dobry refused to give up her fight for justice.
Days turned to weeks, turned to years. I mean, all this time, where you're just like, are getting any leads?
Oh no, no, it was always, well, you need to talk to such and such. Well, such and such didn't know anything. And then I'd call the newspaper, or I'd call the news station. Okay, it's the anniversary date, let's do something.
Then in 2012, Dobry called the new director at the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, asking for help in Tiffany's case.
I called and he goes, I've been waiting on you. I've got an agent that I'm going to assign just to Tiffany's case. Lynn Williams got our case, and he started from scratch. He's got all the evidence, all the paperwork, everything together.
It was a big whodunit case, is what we call them in law enforcement. You start with the husband, the ex-friends that she had, the close associates she had, and none of that panned out, and that's when it went cold.
But the OSBI was able to identify Reese as a potential person of interest.
One of the big things that brought William Reese into the radar screen of OSBI, apparently doing an interview, and he had made the statement that Oklahoma was trying to pin the Tiffany Dobry case on him. Well, someone from Texas called OSBI headquarters and asked if we had a Tiffany Dobry homicide that we're working on. And she had been married since then. She went by the name of Johnston, or her married name. So when they said Dobry, nobody recognized it until they got thinking a few hours later, said, no, that's Tiffany Johnston. That's where Oklahoma first started looking at William Reese as a potential person of interest.
Reese, as it turned out, had met Kathy Dobry before.
You actually knew his mother. Can you talk about how you knew his mother?
His mother did my ironing for me. When I went to work to pay for Tiffany's wedding, then you had to have a uniform, and I'm not an ironing person. So she did my ironing for me. That was how I met her.
So you got to know her, and then you knew her son.
Yeah. When he got out of jail, because he was in prison at the time before Tiffany, in '96 he got out on a technicality. So when he got out, she introduced me to him, this is my son. Well, I didn't think about asking, what was he in jail for? I mean, they acted like it was no big deal. And I don't remember him going, a big deal about him being in prison or going to prison. Even though it's a small town, that was one missed by me. I think I was probably too busy keeping up with my older two kids. He went to Texas a lot.
He did? Okay.
Yeah, because he has a ex-wife and two kids down there.
Then in 2015, a break finally came in Tiffany's case.
Next thing I did is go to our laboratory and look at and examine what evidence we actually still have in the case and what could be tested. The advancements of DNA technology. There was the swabs that was collected from the state medical examiner's office doing autopsies. We discussed with the lab, and they thought it'd be worth a try to retest those with the new technology, and that's where the DNA profile came back that matched William Reese.
On top of the DNA match, the OSBI was in touch with Friendswood police. Reese was still the #1 suspect in Laura Smithers' death.
2014 is actually when we began a cold case review. We had some discussion that probably a good case to pull apart would be the Laura Smithers case.
Friendswood police began looking into old evidence, including William Reese's phone records.
There were several document collections that took place back in the 1997 period. Some were on a consent to search at the house that he was staying at back in 1997, which another, was his truck. And, he had phone bills and he had receipts, gas receipts, that really became, the documentation, and it helped us put the timeline together.
Part of the phone records tracks him to Oklahoma the day before Tiffany Johnston's disappearance and puts him in close proximity to her location where the abduction took place. And the next day it tracks him going back to Texas. So these are phone calling cards. So back when you used to have a credit card for a phone.
A phone card is something, it was almost like a credit card that you could use, had an account number, your own account number, and you could go to a payphone and actually punch in your account number along with the phone number you was calling, and you can make a phone call without having to use a quarter. So the phone company would basically issue you it's like a little credit card. They would charge it to your phone account.
It's good investigative work that Friendswood was doing that helped us in our case.
In September of 2015, William Reese was charged in Oklahoma City with the kidnapping and murder of Tiffany Johnston.
Why would he want to kill Tiff? Why would he want to beat her up? Why would he cut her? Why would he rape her? This is my baby. The DNA is what he couldn't very well say, well, I didn't do it, even though he did say he didn't kill Tiffany at first. He called the house after, I don't know, a few days later after Tiffany told me he was sorry to hear about my daughter and that he didn't kill her. When you have a house full, we did not have standing room in our house. That was how many people were at the house. You don't think about it. That's weird to say. You got people, you got funeral arrangements, your daughter just died, you have another daughter that's due to have a baby.
What a bizarre thing to say.
That's all he said, was he just called to tell me he was sorry and that he didn't kill Tiffany, that his mom had called him to tell him. His mom, which she was doing my ironing before Tiffany was murdered, and she did Tiffany's clothes for her funeral services. I think she knew that he killed Tiffany because we got all kinds of little trinkets. It was on Tiffany's grave, just on her anniversary date. And after his mom passed away, they quit.
So every anniversary of her passing.
Mm-hmm.
So did he ever meet Tiffany, or?
No, not that we can pinpoint.
Do you think he'd identified her and was seeking her out?
It could have been because I always talked about Tiff. Oh, Tiff's doing this, or we got this for the wedding, or, she was a baby, grade school, high school, and then we did glamour shots together. He had seen a picture of Tiff. I'm sure he knew who she was, even though he said at first he didn't know who she was and that he didn't do it.
But just before Reese was charged in Tiffany Johnston's murder, a stunning development. Reese started confessing to other killings in an attempt to make a deal.
I couldn't get my windshield wipers to come on. About that time I hear something slam against my mirror, and it slams up against the passenger side door. That's when I looked in the ditch and I seen Laura Smithers laying in the ditch.
He knew that justice was coming, the time was up, and that he was going to try and make the best deal possible, to number one, probably keep himself off of death row.
In February of 2016, Texas Ranger James Holland paid a visit to Reese in prison in Huntsville, Texas, where he was serving his sentence in the Sandra Sapah case. He brought a stack of pictures, and Reese pulled photos out of the pile of 4 missing or murdered girls: Laura Smither, Kelli Cox, Tiffany Johnston, and Jessica Cain.
The ranger had put pictures out basically to say, if you want to help yourself, I need to know who I need to go talk to. And he was referring to basically the district attorneys in those different jurisdictions. So when he laid all the pictures out of the girls, he asked him, who do I need to go speak to? The ranger's asking Bill, who do I need to go speak to? And at first he doesn't say anything. He just kind of puts his hand over all of them. And he says, what does that mean? And he says, all of them. So we knew that night that he was acknowledging responsibility for all the girls that we had pictures there.
Reese agreed to lead investigators to the body of Kelli Cox, who he said was buried in a field near Rocher in Texas.
Anyway, there's a little white building, grocery store. Like, I pulled up on the side of it, I opened up the door, and I kind of got out too fast, or I fell out, or almost fell out, or something. Anyway, I run into this girl. Coke went all over me and her. And I started cussing her. I think I pushed her. That's when she hit me with the Coke, plastic Coke thing. And I slapped her. And then it was over.
She was fighting back?
Yes.
Okay, and what happens next?
And then I grab her around the throat and I choke her.
He had initially drawn kind of a sketchy kind of map out towards Brazoria County, out off of 288. Didn't know exactly, again, where it was, but we knew that was Kelli Cox from, from Denton.
See, that's the problem these other investigators have about that, is they don't think you'd kill her right there at the store when people are coming and going.
There was nobody coming and going.
Is it midnight? It was right in there, what, noon? Around noon?
Well, I can't help that.
In fact, it was right around the corner from a police station. You know that?
No.
Yeah. Right around the corner. I mean, you probably go 2 blocks.
From the police station.
In February of 2016, Reese was temporarily transferred to the Friendswood City Jail so he could lead investigators to Kelli Cox's remains. Friendswood police led the excavation efforts.
It's kind of a long, drawn-out process because as we went and we never found anything over the days of digging, a lot of the investigators out there from other agencies felt that he was just kind of jerking our chain and just playing us for fools. But you'd be out there at the site and you could see the concern on his face that we didn't locate, any remains. And getting back here to the station, he would show his concern as well. So we felt that he was telling the truth. We just had to verify it.
When Kelli's remains didn't turn up after days of digging, William Reese gave investigators a second location where he said he buried Jessica Cain. Search crews began digging in a field in southeast Houston, near Hobby Airport, with Reese alongside them in shackles.
He explained how he carried her out there and how he had to stop in the direction, and it was literally, it's like it was yesterday to him.
I was in Bennigan's, I was eating, I was drinking, I got my Jeep. I hear somebody arguing, whatever they was doing over there behind me. And then the next thing I know, she slams her door into my Jeep. I started yelling at her and she flips me off. And we got in a big argument. And I got on 45 driving towards Galveston. And I kept on going. She just pulled right over behind me. And she started yelling something. She was getting out of her truck. Well, she had her door open. She was yelling at me. And I lost it. I just got up and walked over there and hit her.
Why would you be going down to Galveston, though, Bill?
Just
because you live the other way.
Right, I understand. Man, I just didn't want to go. I didn't want to go home.
But think about it. This girl, and you are in the same parking lot with Bennigan's.
Right.
She lives down there. You don't. You live the opposite direction. But yet she ends up her car on the side of the road, just a mile or two from her house.
Right.
And you really have no explanation as to why you was even going down there. After you hit the girl in the pickup truck, which you now know her name was Jessica Cain, right? What happened then?
And then I put her in the Jeep because it was on the opposite side of the road. I don't know, it was on the ground, and last thing I remember, man, that was it. She wasn't breathing or nothing. I picked her up, put her in the driver, the passenger side seat, strapped her in, and we took off. I went right out there to Allen stable barn. I had a stolen bulldozer out there, and I buried her out there.
William was really focused, just always looking at us out there when we were digging. And I'll never forget, I looked at William, I says, William, what is going on in your mind right now when you see all this stuff going on? I said, do you have any remorse? And he looked at me with just a sober look right in my eyes. He said, Mr. Miller, you probably won't understand this. He says, but people like us, we don't have remorse. And it was kind of, took my breath away a little bit.
Investigators spent weeks sifting through the site, even tearing down a barn on the property. Reese began to show his frustration.
He basically was looking at the plat of land, and he kept saying, I can guarantee you she's right here. And I said, Bill, we've already dug right there. And he says, well, you didn't dig deep enough. And I said, well, we've dug like 7 feet there. And he said, well, it's not deep enough. And then he kind of cussed and said, you know, you're wasting everybody's time out here. I don't know why you're going all the way over there. He said, if you look, I could not have driven my bulldozer through that fence line if I wanted to. Well, the fence line that he was talking about was so thin that you could walk through the fence line. You could certainly drive a bulldozer through it. So I knew exactly then that he had the wrong fence line and that the next one was talking about. So we continued digging for a couple hours, going to that final fence line. And you know, that's when we located the remains.
When we unearthed the initial remains of Jessica Cain, you know, I kind of looked up at the sky and we just figured that there was God's hand at work.
I did tell William Reese thank you after we did find Jessica Cain.
What did he say to that?
He just looked at me. William wanted Jessica's body found. I was still to this day trying to figure out what his motive was there, whether it was really to get the death penalty taken off the table, or whether if it was another control thing, that he was controlling people. I don't think it was for any guilt conscience or anything, or wanting to help the family out and bring closure.
Just over a week later, search crews also discovered Kelli Cox's remains.
We believe William Reese brought Kelli Cox back down to the Brazoria County site where he killed her there, we believe, and he buried her at that Brazoria County location.
This is the bracelet that Kelli had on that day, and the detectives found this bracelet when they found her remains.
Kelli Cox.
They had told me that they had found some remains. Well, the next morning I got a phone call that they had found the gold rope bracelet with the remains. And when they said that, that was actually when I was like, that's Kelli, you know. Now, it was only a day or two after that then that they did confirm via dental records.
I remember looking him up and seeing his face, and then just reading about all these other girls. And I remember thinking, he has a pattern, and if he led them to her, then he did some awful things to her. And I just remember reading and thinking about how she must have felt and just what was going through her mind, how scared she had to have been.
I had nightmares that she was in some human trafficking ring or sex trafficking ring or being harmed. I mean, those are the nightmares that I had. I mean, clearly I always had hope, but my biggest fear was, is she being harmed every day? I quit having the nightmares because I knew she was in God's arms.
If anyone deserved to know what had happened, it was Jan. And I know that that was one thing she had always said, that she wanted to know. She just wanted to know. It killed her not knowing. And I can never thank God enough for the fact that she knows, we know, she does not have to pass not knowing.
Alexis?
And it brought some new hope to EquiSearch organization. Even after 19 years, it's possible that we can still find these people. So let's don't ever give up on any of these cases. I mean, it took its emotional toll. I still have to go to my therapist. Thank God I've still got a therapist that I go to, and otherwise I could get myself in emotional trouble. And I have in the past on some of these cases. That build up and build up and build up. I do get emotionally attached.
When I found out what happened to my mother when I was 20 years old, and this was in 2016, and when William Reese led us there, I lost it. I lost my mind. I lost myself completely. It threw me out of reality because I didn't want to believe it. I just wanted to lay in bed and just shut the world out, because then I didn't have to acknowledge what happened. And I know it was very hard for Jan to see me. Really, I think I would call it a breakdown. I had a bit of a nervous mental breakdown. I've been through some therapy and things like that. Everything is so much better now that I have been able to work through my issues rather than just try to brush them aside. And I definitely have learned that mental health needs to be taken completely seriously.
Kelli told me the happiest day in her entire life was the day that Alexis was born. And he took that away. He took her joy of raising Alexis away.
I was angry. I was angry at God. I was angry at William Reese. I was angry at everything. And once I moved past that anger, the initial anger, I realized a lot of things, like God didn't do it. God just oversees us and puts us on this earth with free will. He didn't do this to us. William Reese did this to us, and it was his own decisions. And he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. My heart goes out to the other families so much for their babies that they lost, especially the Smithers. I couldn't imagine.
These girls didn't do anything wrong. They encountered the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, Kelli had, she had an issue with her vehicle being locked, because she had been on a tour at the Denton County Jail, of all things. And she went ahead and ran into Bill Reese in that parking lot. When Jessica's case, I believe he went ahead and followed her, from the Bennigan's parking lot as she went south. I think Reese was in there looking. He saw somebody who he was interested in. Eventually was able to get her to pull over, and that's when he got control over her and, kidnapped her.
You got a 17-year-old girl who's not even graduated high school.
Right.
And she's going to argue with you and pull off the side of the road behind you on a darkened freeway. Don't you see what that?
Right.
Most people would say,
I understand.
I can't see that little 17-year-old girl doing that.
He had a sister that lived down the street in the same apartment complex where Jessica had gone with this other girl. And now, did he see her there? Did he follow her from there? Was he parked in the Bennigan's parking lot? There was a Shell station that we don't know, but he was constantly on the hunt.
Reese stayed in the Friendswood City Jail for 5 months during the search for remains and the subsequent investigation. He even sketched a drawing of the investigators he worked with.
Some strange way he thought there was a friendship, I guess, that he wanted to come off as a good guy. In his mind, he wanted to look somewhat like an ordinary guy in front of us, even though in the back of his mind he probably knew also that, we knew what he did. It was always the victim did this or the victim made me do that. I was drinking.
I'm drinking a lot because Laura Smithers, can't get it out of my head.
The shower back there in the jail only, dispensed cold water. Oh, William Reese was here. He didn't like taking cold showers. So he was able to repair the shower in the jail so that he could avail himself of, a warm shower. He did maintenance work, here painting.
Always respectful to all the other officers. If you walked into a bar and you sit down beside him, you probably start out a friendly conversation with me, but you'd even buy him a beer. But obviously he wasn't. There was that dark side to him.
How would I describe William Reese? William Reese would just be one of the guys that I worked with in my construction business. Just a normal guy that I would drink a beer with. He doesn't have that tattoo on his forehead that I'm a serial killer.
That guy was probably about as calculating, I don't want to call him clever, but he was definitely calculating. He really kind of thought that he was smarter than everybody else.
But while Reese tried to make deals to avoid the death penalty in Texas, Oklahoma County's district attorney refused to deal with him.
He was always concerned because he knew that Oklahoma was kind of the holdout. So he was always concerned from day one that wasn't maybe going to work out the way he thought it was going to work out in Oklahoma. There was never a promise ever made to him.
In July of 2016, Friendswood investigators turned Reese over to face charges in Tiffany Johnston's kidnapping and murder.
They went ahead and turned him over to the Oklahoma authorities just at the location where he kidnapped Kelli Cox back in 1997.
In September 2016, Reese was indicted in the murder of Laura Smither and Jessica Cain.
Today brings some healing after 19 years of determined investigation by many law enforcement officers and volunteers, and 19 years of painful waiting by some families who've been very deeply wounded.
The next year, he was indicted in Kelli Cox's murder, but it took 5 years for Reese to face trial in Tiffany Johnston's murder in Oklahoma.
We went through 6 judges, and we went through 5 defense attorneys. And one of the defense attorneys quit a week before we were supposed to have a trial.
He's been up in the Oklahoma County Jail for the last 5 years. He's actually, been on the medical floor in kind of a trustee position. It's considered to be, a privileged position, as far as being able to be out of your cell.
And that was why he wanted the death penalty off. He wanted to be out so he could socialize with people. He didn't want to be in solitary confinement with being on death row. He wouldn't be around the other inmates.
The COVID-19 pandemic delayed the trial even further until May of 2021, when a jury was selected. Prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty.
The trial was 3.5 weeks long. We sat there and listened to hours and hours and hours of tapes.
We knew that there were confessions, but we didn't have any details. And so I wanted to go hear what they said. That was really important to me. So it was a way of walking with Laura as closely as I could.
Jurors listened to recorded conversations between Reese and the Texas Ranger who got him to confess.
What was that like, hearing the confession after all these years?
Well, it was not a full-blown confession. It was I would say a half confession, because he's not telling all the truth. He did not admit to the sexual assault of any of the Texas cases, for Jessica, Kelli, or Laura.
Going back to the 3 other victims, did you have sex with any of those victims?
No.
Okay, did you try to have sex with any of the victims?
I don't think so.
Okay. I guess I don't think so. It kind of opens up some doors.
Well, as far as I know, no.
He only admitted sexual assault of Tiffany Johnston, but it's very clear that he sexually assaulted all 3 Texas girls.
Back up to Laura Smither.
Yeah.
Was in my case.
Okay.
Yeah. I looked at the pictures of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
When Galveston County came out there, and I guess it was 3 days later, or 4 or 5 days later.
It was about a week later.
Yeah. And they got pictures of your truck. There's no damage to your truck or to your.
Right. I done fixed it. I done fixed my mirror and stuff.
There was no truck to you. there was no damage to your truck as well.
Well, sort of.
The pictures don't show anything. I mean, if you hit her with that hard and broke her neck
Right.
like that, you know, those pictures, you would see something.
Right, I understand. Well, I can't explain that, but I know I hit her. I know I hit her.
You know, she was also found with no clothes on.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because when I laid her in a pool of water, she still had a black outfit on.
Yeah, but they didn't come off by themselves, Bill.
Well, I understand that, but I'm telling
I'm
you.
just being, you and I are talking directly, okay?
Okay, but I'm being honest with you. When I laid her in that water, her clothes were on her. I know for a fact her clothes were on her. I didn't touch her clothes.
I think this man has told himself so many lies for so many years. I'm not sure he even knows what the truth is anymore.
So you hit Smithers, you never saw her?
I never saw her.
At that time, I mean, you pretty much knew she was dead?
Yes, sir. When I got out of the truck, there was a little girl down in the ditch, and she was crying and yelling. So I go down in the ditch, I'm panicking, and I was trying to get her to quit screaming. And I put my hand over her mouth, and she was facing away from me, so when I turned her head around, I felt her neck pop, and she got real quiet. And I picked her up, I put her in the truck because I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. And I took her out to this detention pond. She was already dead, and I took her clothes off and put her in the water, and got rid of her clothes.
He gives a version of the truth to make himself look better and put the blame on the girls. It's always the girls' fault.
His first story was that Tiffany wanted him to have sex with him.
The car wash, I pulled in there, put the quarters in, I was spraying it, cleaned out underneath my truck. I started on the trailer part, and that's when that girl yelled, "Hey, I sprayed her." I go, "Sorry." I thought she said something. I started cussing at her. And me and her got into it. We was in a trailer, we was fighting and stuff. I stopped and I sat up because it was hot in there and I started sweating, and she climbed on top of it.
The main part is, I mean, the part that's hard to believe is that you guys start out with a fight.
Right.
And suddenly she wants to have sex with you.
I ain't saying she was doing it voluntarily.
And then his next story was, no, I initiated it, I did it.
Stood up to put my pants, pull up my pants and zip them up. She hit me in the back of the head with a horseshoe. I had 2 boxes of horseshoes in there. Started squeezing her around the throat, and I grabbed that lead rope, wrapped around her, and pulled it tight.
I never imagined I was going to hear as much testimony as I did, because probably 80%, I know it was a large amount of the testimony, was about the Texas cases. Oklahoma is one of the few states that allows testimony in the guilt-innocence phase of the trial in about previous victims.
There are other girls that testified in the trial in Oklahoma that he had raped before Sandra Sapal, and they got away, and they didn't necessarily report it.
A whole bunch of victims were paraded before the jury, telling their story of what he did to them. They were extremely courageous young women getting up and testifying, and they told me afterwards they did it for Laura. They did it for Laura. But it took an awful lot out of them. It took a lot out of me just hearing them.
We watched him during court, and whenever they had pictures of Tiffany and her body, he was glued to the screen. And I mean, he was just glued to it. I guess he was reliving it, maybe? I don't know. But he was all engrossed in the pictures of how he killed Tiff. It was really hard because I already knew what to expect with the pictures, because I had already gotten the autopsy and I'd already read it and I had already looked at the pictures, and so I was prepared. But the kids wasn't. I mean, my son and my daughter wasn't. Brian wasn't, Tiffany's husband. So they took it a little bit harder.
Was it was it like being in the same room with him?
Awful. Awful. And he sat there impassively through the entire trial. I only saw one shade of emotion one time when he turned and looked at Kathy Dobry with a really, it was a demonic look is what it looked like to me. And he just sat there with, I mean, no emotion through the whole trial. I mean, there was the odd smirk, but mostly just this no expression.
After 8 days of testimony and more than 20 witnesses, it took the jury less than an hour to come up with a verdict.
Prosecution figured, oh, it'll take them 5-6 hours. So we went outside and we were standing around and my phone's going off. My daughter's having a fit. Mama's outside and she's not in the courtroom. They're getting ready to, to do this. And here everybody comes looking for Mom. And I go, okay, let's go. So we went back upstairs and they said, he's guilty. And you don't know how hard that was for me to sit there and not show, because I always wanted to get up and say, yay, but they wouldn't let you do that. So you had to sit there and wait, and the judge dismissed us, let us go on out, and then we got to holler.
The jury recommended the death penalty for Reese. In August of 2021, he was formally sentenced. Laura Smithers' family and Kelli Cox's were in the courtroom.
That's how you're supposed to feel when you're coming face to face with a monster. And he's not just any monster for me. That's the monster who took away my mom.
There's an old saying in the law, justice delayed is justice denied. Justice will not be delayed any longer in this case. I sentence you to death.
It was hard being in that room with him, with William Reese. That's the first time I'd seen him. So that was not all that easy. It was really harder than I thought it was going to be. But they were golden words.
The entire time that Kathy Dobry was making her victim impact statement, William Reese would not take his eyes off of her. I found that disgusting. Seeing him was, it's over. And I'm glad it was brief. And I'm glad that no other woman's family can be hurt.
It'll be 20 years before we'll see him dead, but we'll probably be dead because he's too evil to die. I swear he is. But at least we know he won't be out killing someone else's kids, daughters. We got justice for Tiffany, and that's what I was going for all those years, was pushing and arguing and standing up for her rights, and because this mama wasn't going to give up.
She just wouldn't give up. She's just she's a hero to all the mothers and parents.
Reese was granted an automatic appeal, which is given to everyone sentenced to death in Oklahoma. He will spend his final days on Oklahoma's death row in McAllister, where an inmate spends 22 hours a day in his cell. But murder charges in Texas are still pending. He has not faced trial in the deaths of Kelli Cox, Jessica Cain, or Laura Smithers.
This is justice. It is. There was certainly a long period of time that we thought that was never going to happen. We know he's not going to get out. The fact that he was received death penalty in Oklahoma, we feel that we got that justice for all the girls in that verdict. We're really comfortable with him sitting on death row in Oklahoma and not coming back here to face our charges, because in a death row cell where he doesn't have all the perks and privileges that he managed to get in the Texas system, on death row he will be in his cell.
It wasn't for just Tiff. It was for all the girls in Texas that he murdered. It was to get justice for all the girls, even the ones that survived him.
And I was certainly thankful for Tiffany's mom that they found him guilty and that they recommended death penalty. Just because he was found guilty in Oklahoma I don't want that to minimize the focus in Texas on putting him before a jury and finding him guilty in Texas for Kelly's murder.
Kelli Cox's family is in talks with the district attorney's office in Brazoria County, where her remains were found.
I expect him to want to take Reese to trial for Kelly's death, for murdering Kelly.
It's really important to me just to hear what the DAs are thinking about, and definitely to make sure that they're not even considering dropping it just because he got a death penalty sentencing. That doesn't mean that he didn't murder my mom. He did, and he needs to be held accountable in a court of law. Now, I'm not a big pusher of the death penalty, anything like that. I don't care. Just I want the guilty verdict for what he did.
Many investigators still believe this may not be the last we've heard from William Reese.
It's very likely that we'll hear from William Reese again. And it will likely be because he is looking for some way to, get off a death row. We're working with an agency now, which, I'm not going to name, but, we are providing some evidence to another agency that currently is looking at William Reese.
I firmly believe that he's responsible for other deaths. And, he's not a stupid man. I don't like to give him any credit at all, but he's not stupid. And he knew how to stalk his victims, and he was successful. But then he let one of them got away from him, and that's what got him.
We will never know how many victims he has out there. We lost a bright star. A man that had nothing to offer the world has destroyed so many children that had everything to offer. Laura, Jessica, the others.
But from tragedy comes purpose.
The Laura Recovery Center is obviously her biggest legacy. And it's the legacy of the entire community.
The Smither family founded the Laura Recovery Center, a nonprofit aimed at preventing abductions and runaways and helping to recover missing children.
Laura's case changed how law enforcement nationally, it was one of the critical cases that changed how they look in the early days when there's a missing child. It's strange the way this happens.
Michael Barker says the emotional search for Jessica Cain inspired him to begin writing and recording music.
Her journal, I pored over the journal for hours and days and weeks and years trying to find a little thread that we could follow there. And there was a passage in there, and this was less than 2 weeks before she disappeared. She made a trip to Dallas, and she said that about sitting at a table looking at the candlelight and having a vision of important things, of horses, country crows, and being alone. And as you know, she was found in a horse pasture and been with those horses all those years.
Alone, because she's passed. Is that eerie when you read them?
It is eerie. It haunts me today. Did she have a vision of what was going on? It's a process. I had never heard the term country crows before. I never, ever dreamed of this. I started waking up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd have these words in my head. And so I ignored it for a long time. And then I started writing it down.
Except for the crows and horses, the field stays the same.
A couple of those words, a few of those words about horses and being alone, I put into a song.
What made you want to put that in a song?
I needed to put it somewhere.
The reveal of inner truth.
She was very good with words. It really started making me think about words. And I think it had a lot to do with my songwriting, because I never even ever dreamed of doing anything like that.
So she inspired you think?
I do believe there was inspiration came from there. She might be pulling the strings. But she definitely had an impact on my life. They all did.
Songs still rhyme
I had been abducted, raped, murdered, dumped, and buried.
Kelli Cox's family hopes the memorial on the UNC campus will encourage students to be vigilant and aware of their surroundings.
I didn't want people to forget that what had happened. I wanted it to be something that drew people to it so they would read the story. I said it doesn't accomplish what we hope for if they don't read the story. They don't read what happened and then go, oh wow, that wasn't very far from here.
We lived in a very safe area, and she was on a field trip with a college in broad daylight in front of a Denton jail where cops are, and it can happen to anyone. Anyone. And the world needs to be aware of that.
If there are other people around her,
it wouldn't have happened because he wouldn't have gone after her. He went after somebody who was by themselves.
William Reese's former attorney declined our request for comment. Reese is now 62 years old and has spent more than half his life in prison.
To know that he will never be out again, that will be completely satisfying. Just for the safety of young girls everywhere.
you know, we talked about forgiveness.
You know, there's no forgiving him for killing Tiffany. He might take her, and he killed her, but there's one thing that we have that he doesn't, and that's the memories. He has the memory of killing her and getting off on it, and we have the good memories of Tiffany, of her growing up, playing ball, and being spoiled.
What do you think about when you come out here?
How much I miss her, and what she'd be doing, what she'd look like.
Oh, she's my sweetie. Oh.
We have to keep moving forward because that's what she would want. And I guarantee you every day she's looking down, smiling. He took back something we can never have. You know, you can't, you don't get a redo on lives. But that's not gonna make him stop me from living my life. And we're gonna continue on, and we're gonna press forward. We're gonna make sure that there's justice for Kelli as much as we can.
I had a wonderful life. My greatest joy was in becoming a mom to Alexis. The privilege of raising her and watching her grow up was stolen from me. I want everyone to live their life to the fullest without having to cut it short by violence. If I could say anything to you personally, it would be, stay aware, stay safe, and God bless. Kelli.
Shortest stories ever told are by words put to verse. The reveal of inner truth, exposing the pain's worth.